Hey everybody, this is the Sliders Review, and I'm here today to talk to you about how the Star Trek Discovery writers and creative team let Saru down. Basically, not ruining his character, just making his character uninteresting. So, when it comes to that of Saru, who I believe is played by Doug Jones, I believe that's his name. Oh, side note, did you know he was the body visual for that of the Silver Surfer and Fantastic Four 2, Rise of the Silver Surfer? Anyways, so when it comes to that of Saru, pretty much the consensus of Star Trek Discovery fans is this: Saru is literally the best thing to ever happen in Star Trek Discovery. When Star Trek Discovery came on, it had a very mixed reception. Some of that has changed now to where people like it now, but people like myself still do not like it. Because it started to be okay in season 4, a little bit in season 3, but season 4 is probably the most Star Trek it's ever been. But now in season 5, they just went back to how they were back in the day. Anyway, when it comes to that of the Discovery crew, it's really hard to find like your favorite character, mainly because the bridge crew is non-existent. Like they're characters in the show, but not really. You either don't know their name, you don't know their rank, you kind of know what position they're in, but other than that, it's a very non-Star Trek show. Except for when it comes to that of Saru. Saru is literally the antithesis of what Star Trek is. His character is that of an alien. Oh crap, I forgot the name of his species. Is it Kaplan or something like that? Copeland? Kaplan? Something like that. He has a very new Trek type design where it's heavy prosthetics. Basically, he's kind of like a camel. Heavy prosthetics on the face. They kind of went too far with the prosthetics. Heavy prosthetics on the face, the fingers, and the feet. But for the most part, he is an alien. Not only that, but he has a unique alien quirk. When he walks, his hands sway back and forth behind that of his body, giving him more of a visual, like, intrigueness and everything. A very alien thing. Not only that, but he used to have these little things in the back of his head, and supposedly the lore was because, see, here's the thing: his alien species never existed in Star Trek history before, so we never saw him in none of the other shows. So many fans believed, okay, like, either his species no longer exists, or they're kind of like the Tellarites and the Andorians. They just never appear in other Star Trek shows, even though they still exist. But he kept saying that he is the last of his species. A little bit more on that later. But he had these little things in the back of his neck. And supposedly, during a certain time in his species, when those things start like flaring up and everything, and they have to be cut off, that means it's time for that individual to pass on. And it was a pretty dramatic thing in season 2 because we thought we was gonna lose this dude, because they will kill a character off in this show only to resurrect them back and everything. But well, except for Lorca. Lorca will always be dead in this show in both universes for some bizarre reason. But anyways, so, just like a good old-fashioned Star Trek alien, we get to some lore into their background. They decided to do a short trek that made absolutely no sense. Basically, Saru comes from a planet that has no advanced technology, no warp capability, nothing like that. But somehow he was able to build some type of homing beacon distress type thing on his own because he's very, very smart. Starfleet found the beacon and they went to his planet and they exposed themselves to him, breaking the whole prime directive and everything, and told him, hey, look, since you made contact with us, We have no choice but to bring you on our ship where you can leave your like home planet and never ever return. This is kinda unstarfleet because what they would do in other shows, they would just wipe your memory. If that didn't work, then they'll give you the option of coming on the ship. If you refuse, then that's it. And you just have to swear like secrecy to never tell nobody and stuff. But I guess back in these days, since this is before the Kirk days, maybe they had a different prime directive. Heck, if I know, you know what I'm saying? But basically, this was a way for them to kind of retcon their botching of like his origin and his species and stuff like that. His species gets retconned a lot in the show. And that's because of the simple fact Alex Kurtzman has no idea what he's doing. The man cannot trek. Anyways, so it's always been rumored that, you know, he's the last of his species. Everybody else got taken up by the Bayou and they are dead, especially that of his family. So not only is the ritual, did that get debunked and everything because they decided to retcon and be like, okay, fine, the ritual, you can lose your ganglia in the back of your head and nothing will happen to you. And so, oh, your species and everything, your family, oh, don't worry, they're still alive. They're just held captive. Oh, let's mount a rescue? No problem. We're going to do it off screen. Your species is going to fight the bad guys on their own, even though they are not technologically advanced, and then they're going to steal their ships, and then they're going to help Starfleet try to end some type of battle that they're having. Oh, Alex Kurtzman, what the world, dude. But anyway, so yeah, his species is alive and well, his family's alive and well. And so, like, but anyways, you know, they came up with a pretty interesting backstory for, like, you know, his species before, you know, they retconned it and stuff like that. But that's not how they ruined his character, because it still made him interesting. At least he knows his people are still alive. See, when the show first started in season 1, people kind of didn't really like Saru because he was mean and grumpy towards Michael Burnham. At that time, people had no reason to hate Michael Burnham. But the reason I see it as why he was rude to her and bumping into her is because, like, they both have the same rank. They're both science officers. And it's like he has to prove himself more to the captain because Michael Burnham is technically the adoptive daughter of the captain. So she's in high regard and he's kind of like, you know, I got to work really hard and everything. So I understand why he had an attitude towards her. Later on in the first season, as the show progressed, their relationship gets a bit better. And in the first season, we start to learn things about like his species, his ritual. Very Star Trek, very old school Trek. That's how you're supposed to do it when you have an alien species. They're supposed to be interesting, unique, and you're supposed to know some things about their species backstory, right? Then they decided to make a very wise move towards the end of the season 1. They made Saru captain of Discovery, partial or temporary captain. This has never been done. There's never been an alien who's been a captain part or full time on a Star Trek series as like the main, like, you know, series and lead. I'm not talking about like, say, oh, there's a Vulcan who's the captain of a starship or a Bolian or nothing like that. I'm talking about like the main show, like full part-time type thing. You know what I'm saying? That was interesting and that was cool. And he made for a really good captain and stuff, making very hard decisions and getting his crew back home from the mirror universe. So we're on a good track, right? Until season 2 happens. And then when season 2 happened, they brought in Pike. Now don't get me wrong, Pike is cool and everybody loves Pike. He was a great addition to the show. But because Pike came in, Saru was no longer captain. That sucks for him. I don't remember too much of what all happened in season 2, other than him thinking he was gonna die. And when he was going through that ritual of kind of like puberty, I guess, it makes them very angry. So we got to see some anger with him. We got to see his near-death experience. Him and Michael became very good friends, and they kind of seemed like they were gonna be more than just friends. But, she was still with Ash, and you know how the writers are. Michael Burnham has to have a boyfriend on the show. And so, like, that never happened. But they still made his character very intriguing and very interesting and stuff. And so then, once again, at the end of season 2, they made the awesome decision to make him captain again. And it's like, cool, man. And so he took his crew into the future to help Michael Burnham, leaving all their friends and family and everybody else behind. And so in the 3rd season, he was captain and stuff like that, right? And so when he was captain, this is kind of when they really didn't see. Here's the thing: they never knew what they were going to do with the character because they always like changing stuff here and there. But the whole premise of Discovery is that Michael Burnham, who was a commander, I believe, or a lieutenant commander in the 1st episode, became a mutineer and then lost her rank only to regain her rank and, rise up to the rank. She was always supposed to be captain of the show, but they wanted to make it gradually and everything, right, through the seasons. So at some point towards the end of season 3, she was going to be captain, which really sucks for Saru because here he is again about to lose his captain rank, or so he was. And so in season 3, they kind of like how they do in wrestling, where it's like a wrestler is a champion and they have to give up the belt, but they don't want to give up the belt to whoever it is they're supposed to give it up to. So they find like a jobber, or they'll find like a mid-card person to give the belt to, only for them to lose it very quickly. And that's kind of what they did with Saru when Michael Burnham became captain. So they kind of started making his character less and less interesting. He was kind of just a nice going, unsure kind of captain. And they did the whole thing of, what's your thing? And here's my thing about the thing. The thing is, when you tell your con officer to engage warp, you give like a certain command code, a phrase. Like Picard had engage, and Picard at that time was the only person who did it until the JJ movies came around, and Pike was like, punch it. And then in Discovery, he's like, hit it. And so I have no problem with a Star Trek captain having a thing. I just hate it when the other crew members bring it up. Hey, what's your thing? Hey, you didn't say your thing. Like, just shut your mouth and fly the stinking ship. And so, like... And then he started, just becoming kind of, not so much a goofy character, just kind of, he kind of became a little bit of a goofy character in season 3. And this is when his character really started to diminish and everything. That really started to irritate me. Because he wasn't that, captain that he was, braving through, the mirror universe, tunnel, or the future tunnel, going into the future and stuff like that, the wormhole, or what you call it. He was no longer that person. Now he's the person who wants to have a holodeck, well, what did he do? Well, he had a TV or movie showing for his crew, and he started talking to the ship's computer and realizing she has a conscience and everything. And it was just kind of more and more he was becoming boring as Michael Burnham was doing her Michael Burnham thing. Then they ruined his character. Well, not so much ruined, because I have said it's nice to see it, but there's a reason for it. They put him in a relationship. And I've said this before on other shows, when the writers have no idea what to do for a character, they just shove them in a relationship. Now, his relationship with the Vulcan lady is nice. And it's nice just because, Star Trek Discovery's always been so dark and gritty. So it's nice to have this nice relationship parallel to that of Michael Burnham and Book. The problem is that's all he's been doing ever since. Now, towards the end of season 3, he helped that other alien that was similar to him because he was a man child and he caused the burn because of all this radiation stuff is in his body, and he screamed and it blew up a bunch of ships in their warp drive and stuff like that. So he was important in helping that character readjust. But the problem is he left Discovery. I don't know why the actor left, but he left. And he left with the rank of captain. He said he went back to his home planet. Then sometime in season 4, they bring him back. And this is where the frustration starts to come. In season 4 and season 5, basically he has the rank of captain, but he doesn't have his own starship. He is the first officer of Discovery, and that don't make no stinking sense. Why does a ship have 2 captains? And why does he act like a first officer? He doesn't even go on away missions like a first officer because they have Michael Burnham do everything. So he basically does nothing for like season 4. And I can't really speak for season 5, only because I only saw the first episode, but I have watched some reviews and nobody mentions him other than being with that Vulcan lady. Anyways, so he has the rank of captain, he does not have his own starship, and he's a first officer taking rules from that of Michael Burnham. What the world? He's like a wrestler who was on top and they put him down to mid-card and down at the bottom. They just totally regarded the fact that fans, they probably wasn't expecting fans to fall in love with this character. They could have gave him his own ship and his own show, or they could have gave him his own ship and kept him on Discovery, where Discovery and his ship are on the same mission, but one's following this alien species while another one's on like a planet doing this. They could have done that simultaneously, but they did not because Alex Kurtzman has no idea how to trek. And so like now for season 4 and for what I've seen of season 5, he's just in a relationship, and a boring one at that. I say it again, it's nice that he's in one. It's nice and it's also nice to see it because it's always about Michael Burnham and whatever stupid thing she's doing. So it's nice to see him and his girlfriend, but they don't have an interesting relationship. Even as a Vulcan, they can still have an interesting relationship. On Strange New World, Spock and his fiance, no longer fiance, every time they're together, it makes for some of the most interesting watching on that show because things are always going on with those two that is very fascinating. But with these two, they just talk and be happy and talk, and then they be all like, well, I'm finna go do this and I can't agree with you doing that. Oh no. But then they reconcile, and then it's still nice and gentle and quiet and soothing, and I don't want that. If they're gonna be in a relationship, have some conflict or something, And this is why I made the video. He has been reduced to the boyfriend role. Why would you do that? I don't get that. The character is unique, the character is fascinating, and the character is beloved. Why would you just stick him in the relationship trope and don't do nothing with him? And why in the world did you give him the rank of captain if he's acting like a first officer, but don't even act like a first officer on the show? I don't get it and everything. They have literally ruined this character. It's like he was an experiment for them just to have the Michael Burnham show. And I hate that so much. He was a cool, very awesome character. And now he's just the boyfriend and everything. Oh, and I forgot to mention, in season 3, the writers made Saru were about to make Tilly the first officer, and Tilly literally was like a cadet in season 1, then at the end became an ensign, and then at some point in time, I don't even know when, season 2 became like a lieutenant or something like that. And we all know how Tilly is and stuff. But the fact, because they kept trying to rank Tilly up, like, to make her like a high position, similar to Jordy. But Jordy was a heck of a lot better a character than she was. But the fact that the writer was gonna have Saru make her the first officer made him look like an incompetent captain. And it's like they had every chance to make him a really, really, really strong leading captain, but they kept, like, I don't know, writing him to make him look very like fresh, very new, very green. Almost like he ain't know what to do when he became captain and stuff. Just so they can make Michael Burnham captain this, because she's the most superior Starfleet officer in the entire like Starfleet universe and everything. And I really hate how they let that dude down. It just drove me nuts after a while because they had every opportunity to make this dude even better than what he was before. And not only is he the boyfriend, but we no longer learn nothing about his species. They're pretty non-existent, even though they're still around in the 32nd future and everything, or century, what do you call it. And it's like he has regressed so freaking much that it's not even funny. God, I hate this show. I'm so pissed I could flip a table. Mufasa did not die for this. Alrighty, well, I'll talk to y'all later. Bye.